All right, welcome back. Yes, that is what we're starting with this morning, and we've got here in the studio Mr. Omoruge Ogboro, who is the head of the legal desk of Nigerian Union in South Africa. He's a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, yes, we did look at this matter some time ago, yeah. But now that this apology has come from South Africa, which is part of what we demanded, what does this do to the whole thing?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you to the viewers. First of all, I want to thank the CEO of Airpeace for his philanthropist move that he made. I just want to extend my appreciation to him and on behalf of Nigerian Union and Nigerians in South Africa. Now, going back to the apology, fine, diplomatically accepted. But we Nigerians on the ground, we can't accept that apology. Legally cannot be accepted.
Why?
Deterrent. How are we going to deter? What's the guarantee? What's the security? This apology has been going on ever since. Let's go back. The era of Thabo Mbeki, Jacob Zuma, now Cyril Ramaphosa. My fellow professionals, my fellow doctors, I call, especially the Nigerian doctors, in the rural area, in the State Department, the hospitals, rendering services, their lives are not safe. We don't have a problem with the apologies. We don't have a problem with it.
Well, isn't there that narrative, this particular message, which are they not saying the same thing to their nationals in South Africa, not to take laws into their hands?
Thank you very much. That's another thing. The apology is on the executive, on the government level, but it's not on the grassroots. An average South African doesn't even know that anything of sort is existing. There should be a proper orientation.
Well, how about that, I don't know, verify, if not, the verify or not, beg your pardon, that video making the rounds that there was a procession in South Africa of South Africans apologizing to Nigerians in South Africa.
Yeah, but if you look at that video, which I got that video, I sent it down because I'm still here in Nigeria, in Abuja. I sent it to a few of my friends just to verify. You know, now we need to verify the issue of this fake news and to get the authenticity of the video. And I got back that yes. But that is the formal, which is the few professionals.
So that was also orchestrated by government?
Look, I can't verify if that was orchestrated by government, but few private individuals. And if you look at it, private individuals, private sectors that are affected. We want... You see, my opinion, which I still insist and which we are working on seriously, is that we need to hold the government vicariously liable. They must.
What does that mean? Taking them to court?
Yes, yes.
But they talked about the compensation.
Who talked about it? We don't know about that. Is it the Nigerian government that is talking about the compensation or South African government? We need to be specific here.
Okay, so what would you want to see? When the president, if the president visits South Africa, is this part of the issue that he should harp on?
Okay, let me ask one very good question. So, Nigerian government, we're talking about compensation. Is it the Nigerian government that's going to pay the affected Nigerians?
No, I think Nigeria is asking South Africa to compensate Nigerians who are affected.
The South African government accepted that. But that is, to me, it's still diplomatic talk. We need to go legally. We have the right. We need to exhaust and test. It's never been tested since 1994. 2008, 19, 15, 2019. This is literally almost the second or the third time.
What kind of decisive action are you asking for?
It's the legal action. You see, we within the system in South Africa, we have a legal structure that can hold the government of the day accountable. And that's it. We institute an action against the states. And when it goes to the states, the presidency, the president himself, we go to the Minister for Police, we go down to the National Commissioner of Police, we go down to then the affected areas, we go to the commanders of each, which we normally do. We do. For instance, in an immigration matter, I've instituted so many actions against the ministers and they've been paying, they pay. Within the system, ordinary unlawful arrest, malicious damage, malicious prosecution, unlawful detention. So we get recourse from that within the system.
So you are talking about taking this matter to the legal system in South Africa?
In South Africa, I'm not going because, from your head news now, your papers this morning, I saw that Obasanjo is insisting that we should go report to African Union. Well, that is very correct. 3 sources of law in South Africa, which there are 5 sources of law. Let's go. The Constitution is there, which is one of the source of law. Secondly, the legislation, and thirdly, the international law. South Africa is part of the Rome Statute International Criminal Court, which they are part of it. AU as well too, which is the International African Court, that is applicable. But look, we are not going to that extent. We need to start from home.
Which is taking it
in South Africa, yes. But it should be a strong deterrent. We need to stop this.
The second part,
yes,
which you say legislation.
Yes.
I know that the President of the Senate here has time and again, I think he suggested that South Africa's parliament need to do something about this.
Yes.
So is that the same thing in the same breath? What would you want to see? What can they do?
Look, the 3 spheres of government in South Africa, which is the executive, the parliament, the judiciary. Now, we don't even need to, hence I'm still saying that we fall under the umbrella of the judiciary. We're going to use the judiciary, which is one of the spheres of government, to follow up this.
So what's standing in the way? Because, I mean, we have been told time and again that there have been several arrests made of the people who perpetrate this crime.
Arrest from when? Since when? 1990? There's no follow-up. You could be arrested, and don't forget, in terms of the law of evidence, in terms of the law of evidence in South Africa, if the chain of evidence is broken, obviously you can't proceed. The NPA, the National Prosecuting Authority, will become redundant. They can't do anything. So what happens? The matter is withdrawn, and these guys are back to the streets. And don't forget that most of the affected Nigerians, most of them, probably they're frustrated, they are threatened, they can't come to testify, and they leave. So no protection for them. So you see, now it's just the time which we insist, and I still insist, we need to hold it. And I promise you.
When you say hold the government of South Africa,
yes,
to account, how do you expect that to be championed within the same legal system that you are saying now? There is no follow-up, yes, to what you just talking about, chain of evidence.
Evidence broken. No, this time around we're setting up constitutional legality, which I'm heading. Few of us, which are attorneys, going to instruct the councils on ground. We're going to preserve the evidence on ground, you understand? And this time around, now, I don't want to mention, I don't want to probably disclose some of our legal strategy. Most of the Nigerians now are coming together. We're getting all the necessary information to institute the action, and we need to now push for state protection witness program for them.
Are you going to do this without the police?
No, we don't need the police in South Africa. Don't forget, Chamberlain, I've been practicing there for so long. Don't forget that they are among the defendants. You see, I listed the defendants in a chronological order, right from the presidency to the Minister of Police down to the National Commissioner of Police, which is like equivalent of an IGP, then down to the affected areas, the commander, the police commander in those areas as well too. Then we can now go to, if at all they still have the arrested South Africans, then we now include them in the civil litigation. You understand? But if we don't, we hold the state, because why are we holding the state responsible? They failed to protect the citizens.
All right, let's get
especially Nigerians.
Let's get another perspective. Kayode.
Well, we'll be speaking with Dr. Darlington Onojafe, who is a senior lecturer and consultant, Graduate Center for Management, Cape Peninsula University of Technology in Cape Town, South Africa. He joins us via Skype. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. Now, I'd like to ask, the dailies in Nigeria are reporting that South Africa has apologized. South Africa's special envoy met with President Muhammadu Buhari and tendered an apology. So the question now is the sense there in South Africa, is it the same as this apology? Are you seeing something different?
Good morning. Good morning to your viewer. There is a good sense that what has happened. And the nature of human being is very, very important, that you don't ignore the power of interaction and negotiation and dialogue. Because What has happened is just a symptom of everything that is covered in a relationship, human relationship. I'm going to take it to business relationship, for instance. There is benefit when two parties or two people, two countries have a relationship together. And when that relationship is broken down because of one action, of course, you have to repair and you have to rebuild the trust. The process of rebuilding that trust and repairing the damage, either in the form of image, in the form of perceived loss, in the form of an opportunity to renew the weak relationship and make it stronger. All of those becomes an issue of the need for dialogue. And
come in here, just pardon
me. The conflict.
A moment, Dr. Onojafe. Now, the question I'm asking is, in the light of these apologies, I mean, this is in Nigeria. In South Africa, where you are, has the atmosphere changed? I mean, have the attacks stopped? Do we have a sober atmosphere such that South Africans are saying to you, perhaps, or people you know that, you know what, we're actually sorry? That's the question.
Yes. Every person you see in South Africa will say they're sorry. But it's not the sorry because of the one-off event. That is why there is going to be deep-seated anger amongst Nigerian and different groupings in Nigeria that this once-off sorry is not a proper cure, especially because the damage was extensive and perpetuated over a long period of time. So now, just look at it. It's not even sorry for what? Is it sorry that Nigerians are attacked? Or is it sorry that Nigerians come to South Africa to commit crime and now we are sorry we didn't take you to court? Instead of taking you to court, you have been beaten up on the streets? What kind of sorry? The sorry is not in any context. The sorry is just to say, let's develop and work together going forward. Let this not end our relationship. Because, of course, there is massive...
pardon me.
For both.
So now there are talks about, legal action. We understand there's a diplomatic process ongoing right now. President Buhari is expected to visit South Africa on October the 3rd. But then Nigerians in South Africa and others are saying there should be legal action taken. So now moving forward, we have diplomacy and there's a legal action option available. Should we do this pari passu or should we abandon diplomacy for legal action?
We cannot talk about diplomacy, legal action in isolation. There is going to be a package of response in order to really understand the sorry and the extent to which the sorry applies to the parties. So, South Africa is not even talking about the sorry because they want Nigeria and they want a relationship with Nigeria without benefit. The benefit is actually the driver of all of the action. So, any of the parties that has not been faring very well from this relationship, this is now the time to relook at all of those relationships in full.
All right. So, if you're saying this is an opportunity to probably re-strategize, what would you be proffering? What is the way forward?
Yes, the way forward is to take a multi-pronged approach to making the binational commission, that is South African-Nigerian binational commission, stronger and more robust. Look at the language of the president, robust. It has never been robust. So it has to be now very, very robust. Lawyers working on ground, academic working together, student body interacting with one another, business arrangement and contract reviewed, where there are weaknesses and problems resolved. All of those problems that have made the relationship between South Africa become a one-sided issues of economic inequality or deepening in economic inequality. It's not going to be sustainable anyway. And then you will continue to see the anger that you see on the street in South Africa and in Nigeria. Look now, the high net worth individuals, statistics have just been out. South Africa has 649 highly net worth individuals. That is against 225 Nigerians. What does that mean? So we're talking in terms of commercial transaction between the two countries, or the wealth of the economic activities on the continent. South Africans have the highest. In fact, they are the richest country on the continent now. So everything you see, both diplomacy, the legal, the judiciary, the economic actors and academic activity, everything has to have economic value. And to whose benefit? To the benefit of South Africa.
Some would also like you to see the fact that, I mean, Nigeria is the biggest economy in Africa. And, I mean, those are some of the other, data that you might want to factor in. But I'd like you to hold your thought for a moment and allow Mr. Ogboro in Abuja to respond to some of the issues you have raised.
Well, yes, indeed. So it appears the sentiment is on both sides. The Nigerians there and the South Africans, that this apology, just as you earlier said, seems to be just above there. So that also suggests that, look, it will be right. What should we then say to South Africa, having noted, or if Nigeria notes that, look, yes, it may be at this level of that apology, but the sentiments, if the sentiments on ground are not on the same page, what should we be doing?
I still stand on the ground. The only mechanism or the channel of communication to South Africa is for South Africans, indigents, and the government to see that, for once, Nigeria community instructed a legal team that will be instructing council to hold the state liable. That's the only way.
Now,
that is now going to be a strong deterrent that when this, you see, we are marinating, we're busy marinating this diplomatic relationship, South Africa, Nigerian thing. We Nigerians, we are very quick to let go because we want to get back to our business. But this time around, Nigerians are
what
saying
indication
no.
do you get? Because if you listen to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, where he says, look, Nigeria's ambassador was not recalled. He only came to brief and perhaps get some briefings done, but we do know that South Africa did actually close the embassy in Lagos and Abuja. They say it was some sort of preventive measure, but it did happen anyway. That closure did happen. Does that indicate to you, on the part of Nigeria, that we seem to be wanting, in your words, quick to get back and let go?
Yeah, Chamberlain, you see, there it's a bit political, which from day one, I want to stick on.
But they're diplomats, they'll do what they normally do.
Yes, I want to stick on the legal ramification of what is going on, the legal implication, the recourse. Because you see, the ministry calling the ambassador, then later on, no, it was not called. I'm just extremely very careful. I don't want to trade into that terrain.
Okay.
I don't want to go into that. I want to go into a terrain where I'm an authority for over 11, 12 years in South Africa practicing. I want to stand on that, and that's my strength.
You are an authority in the legalese.
Yes.
And I think someone else, former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Professor Bola Giakiemi, has also proposed that Nigeria should take South Africa to the International Court of Justice. Yes. Do you think that will make
Look, it's still within the ambit of the law in South Africa, which I said earlier on, the major 5 sources of law in South Africa. I just picked 3. The Constitution, the international law, and the legislation. Where the former minister is going to is let's use the international law. Acceptable.
Okay.
But let's start from home.
If it
we are
is-
the locals there.
if it
Let's
is-
start from. You can't just go straight to the international court.
If
It's
you are
possible.
that confident
Yes.
that that's is something that can work strongly, what do you expect that legal procession that
Yes.
you are suggesting now? What do you expect it to achieve?
Deterrent. It will deter the government of South Africa because they're going to pay heavily, strong compensation, and that will now deter. It will now
It's the
force the
government.
SAPS
It's-
now. The SAPS now, because you cannot allow such acts. And
Barrister, it's
the SAPS are
government.
just standing, the
It's
police
the
officers are just standing, doing nothing, allowing this intelligent report before any attack. Sorry to cut you out. Before any attack, there's a circulation. Hey, look, we're coming out. We're closing this district. We're going to be in this area. We want to.
And they follow it up.
They don't even follow it up. They allow it. They
I mean-
allow
I
it
mean,
to occur.
When they say we're coming this way,
And yes, they
actually
do. They
go-
do.
And
So
the
what
police
happens?
is aware.
They are aware. It's in the public domain. The what do you call it? The circulation is in the public domain. They do nothing. You see, the point here is that we want to send a very, very and I know because I know the system. For instance, the Home Affairs. I know how they are paying heavily, seriously, in a lot of malicious way at which they deny Nigerians their status. You see what is happening now? The system in South Africa drastically is beginning to reject Nigerians.
How do you
The
expect?
institutions.
How?
Yes, even let's take from the Home Affairs. Nigerians that are very qualified, so many Nigerians that are very qualified to probably renew their status. Let's say there are different kind of status, the PR, the permanent resident or the temporary permanent resident, for instance. You're very qualified in terms of all the requirements that you're meant to apply for your status. And you are rejected. And once it's rejected, probably give you reasons that most reasons you are rejected based on Nigerian police fingerprints. Are you an authority to know that that fingerprint is fake or what? What process did you send it to either of the missions to verify, or did you send it back to Nigeria to verify? Just hence there's an administrative process to probably appeal on that. They give you a room to appeal. Thereafter, we go to court. Many instances, and we succeed in that process.
So
You
if
understand?
President Barry was to visit South Africa, and these issues that you raised are concerns, what and how? What should he raise with the South African authority or South African president? How should he go about it?
Look, if I have to advise the president it's just to say, listen, the indigents, we want to have a strong diplomatic tie with South Africa. Want to continue to have that. We're both giants of Africa in Africa, but just please allow the legal process to take its place. And the people, they should do much on ground to orientate their people.
That's the question I wanted to ask.
Orientation.
Sorry, one moment.
Strong orientation.
One moment.
History.
How
the
do you
people don't.
expect-
South Africans don't know history. Sorry to cut you out.
I wanted you to speak to the impact this legal procession you are talking about will have on how do you expect the effect of that legal procession to trickle down to the people who are not directly affected by government, from what you're saying?
From the part of South Africa,
Yes.
isn't it? Yes, because when the government of South Africa is paying, then you know what? They will tighten their security. That's the solution. Their security now will be tight. The SAPS, they can do that immediately. Once they're in action, you stop that act, that conduct of malicious damage to properties, to innocent Nigerians that have struggled all the years to put all those structures together. If you're alleging that Nigerians are doing drugs, in my last session with you guys, I said it that the system is dealing with Nigerians that are dealing in drugs. There are so many Nigerians, life imprisonment, 20 years, 15 years. They are languishing in jail there. So we need to balance this talk. And I'll go back to the issue with South Africans again. History, South Africans don't care about history. When we keep saying that we supported them, we contributed in the struggle, and every South African is just because it's our history taught in schools.
They also
We have to go there. Our history is unlike in Nigeria where we read here. We know our history. They don't care about history.
All right. Point well noted. So we'll hope that the authorities will at least take it from there. But we have to thank you for coming on. Omoruge Ogboro is the head of Legal Desk, Nigerian Union in South Africa. And as you heard, he's been practicing there for over a decade. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much, Emily.
All right, well, back in a moment, we still have just one segment, one more on this matter. When we'll come back in a moment. Stay with us.
Well, you're welcome back. We continue with the conversation, and Dr. Darlington Onojafe is still with us. He joins us live via Skype. He's joining us from South Africa. Thank you for your patience. Now, in that report we just saw, we understand that evacuations is continuing, and we expect 320 Nigerians in the country. That's the second batch, and afterwards, about 120 will be evacuated in the third batch. I mean, in the light of this, diplomatic relationship and actions being taken, do you think these evacuations should continue?
Yes, it should continue because the environment has been very hostile. And it's not only hostile for people on the street. It is hostile for even professionals working in South Africa. But the question is the evacuation going to solve the unemployment and poverty problems? Now, the South African government or some political leaders in South Africa already said that don't be too heavy and too overreact on this issue, because as a matter of fact, other African countries are also complicit. The government are looting the resources and therefore unable to make their country attractive to their own people. So when you look at the South African reaction and the failure of the judicial system and the abuse of human rights, then you will be more responsible to say, okay, I will protect the safety of my people and then the image of my country. Because that is what it boils down to. So if you are going to depend on law or the judicial system holding South African account for this mob attack, yes, I agree with it. But how will that affect the relationship, the business dealings that South Africa have with the rest of Africa? That those dealings mostly benefit South African business. And that is very, very important. If they don't deal with that in a macro or in a comprehensive package of solutions, then the dream of one Africa or the dream of the South African-Nigerian Binational Commission will be a sham.
Wait, if I get you correctly, just a moment, Dr. Onojafe, if I get you correctly, are you saying the relationship between Nigeria and South Africa is somewhat lopsided? Is that what you're implying?
Come again?
Are you implying that the relationship between South Africa and Nigeria is somewhat lopsided, perhaps economically?
Yes, definitely.
In what way?
In the sense that you have seen that there has been a lot of illegal transfer of money from Nigeria to South Africa. And then you have seen that there has been a lot of narrative of Nigerians in South Africa committing crime. Of course, those two stories are not good for either Nigeria or South Africa. And then, of course, you have also heard of the issue of the immigration laws and the slave wage being paid to foreigners in South Africa, which is to say that no matter how you are, once you are not a South African citizen by birth, you are not going to be paid appropriately according to your skill and performance. This issue is actually fueling the hate by South Africans against the foreigners. And then, if you are going to be having a perfect relationship, all of this need to be looked into carefully and need to be addressed within the context of one African and African Union. How is African Union going to be able to attract the skill of Africans in diaspora? if they are going to be subjected to that kind of cheap labor. And if their own country of birth is not attractive for them to come back to. The only place that is attractive and that offer a very good standard of living is South Africa because of the facilities. Now South Africa can even be very, very proud because they've been able to access the human and natural resources of the continent to develop their own country.
We should also, Dr. Anojafe, so you're suggesting in essence that this is perhaps a lot of work in the hands of Nigeria and the Nigerian government to ensure that we look inwards and develop on what we have?
Of course, very correct.
But then is this enough reason to see those attacks in South Africa? Because this is majorly about the attacks happening there, not the attacks happening in Nigeria, the attacks in South Africa. So is that enough explanation?
Oh, good question. The attack that is happening there is a symptom of, or it's a response to all of these symptoms. So it is not provoked by maybe somebody who has committed crime. Like the gentleman said, there are many Nigerian drug dealers who are in jail. So the legal system is working. There are those who will be caught with drug and they will still bribe their police and the legal system and they will still get out or win the case. We want a system where law works and human rights respected. So we cannot use one attack to heap all the concern on South Africa. We need to heap the concern on all the individual countries' government.
Right.
And that is my view. Because you can only be competitive if you have addressed your own issue in your own country.
Getting this perspective from a Nigerian who is in South Africa. But we'd like to thank you very much, Dr. Darlington Anojafe. He's a senior lecturer and consultant, Graduate Center for Management at Cape Peninsula University of Technology in Cape Town. He's been speaking to us from South Africa. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Well, when we return, we'll be talking about the National Livestock Transformation Plan. It's been a center of discussion in the past couple of weeks. We'll give you more in a moment. Stay with us.